Okay, my name's Dan. I'm kind of new to the video game, but I got started on a backyard project doing a summer a rendition of Stonehenge in the backyard. Well, I live here in Beaumont, and it just so happens that this mountain is called San Jacinto Peak. I noticed for the last several years that it happens to be a marker for the winter equinox. And so I decided I would see where the sun rose on June 21st and found that it actually followed this path. I'm going to have to call the solstice path. And I noticed on Google Earth two standing stones directly in my view, or at least the path where I happen to be. And you can see that these things are pretty big. Okay? And if you follow these things on a direct path, it brings you to the ridge where the sun passes over. See that? That's the daylight and the morning ridge. Funny thing is, it has this. It looks to me like this has been altered. So I call this the Solstice Ridge. And I decided, well, let me just see how a layer of a Stonehenge layer would look. Would it match up? And if so, would that be just too big of a coincidence? Let me find this. I'm not very good at this. Forgive me, guys, if you're used to better videos. So I layered a standard replica Stonehenge, and little did I know, but all the lines matched up. And the more I got to looking at this, I started looking up the history of California and ran right into giants. Let me introduce you to Stonehenge Island. This is what it was called, Santa Catalina Island. This is what it was called pre-1920. They happened to do an archaeological dig here that back in the 20s, they actually found almost 4,000 giant skeletons here, all of them more than 7 feet. So they did a great archaeological dig here, and this may actually be the actual solstice line. But when you pull it out, I figured, well, does our country actually have a solstice line? And I found out, well, yes, it does. And it it just happens to center on the Grand Canyon. And I'll show you more about that in another video, I'm hoping. So I decided I would follow this path, this solstice path, and see where it ended up. The farthest point on the northern continent of this planet, called North America, is this funny little thing here. And if you look, it follows the solstice path. There's a place called Hobbiton here, by the way, that has what looks to be a solstice shrine. There's also something weird in the water there, but I just want to show you giants for now. And so I decided, well, let's see where this line takes you. And so I went around the world, finding all these different sites that connect to Stonehenge in England, or Old Albion, full of giants is what they called it, from the old so-called myths. Now you can find any giants anywhere in the world. If there are circles, then they have been contacted by these giants. These people gave them knowledge of how to harvest the sun. And by that I mean, when you take a look at Stonehenge, it allowed only one path. And that's not a very good Stonehenge there. I like using this one. There was a path. Only one path in, no path out. The sun was supposed to enter and never leave. They were harvesting the sun. This was their tool to harvest the sun, and they followed this solstice path everywhere in the world. They were great people. You cannot tell me that this is a work of nature. Now let me show you Mount San Jacinto. I believe this was a pyramid structure, or they at least regarded it as such. And by that I mean, this is what's left of the very peak. Anyway, it is a pyramidal shape. And if you look at it on the 3D map, you'll see the same thing over and over. Giants found in desert. They're all over Southern California. This is the caverns inside the San Bernardino Mountains, where in 1930, I believe, a man found his way in here and took out about 200 pounds of gold. Back then it was $20 an ounce. I don't know if you can even get to this anymore. But obviously, somebody knows about it. This is a map that Phil Schneider, involved with underground bases, did. And look at there. There's the solstice path. Everything is a solstice path. It doesn't matter where the Indians were. I mean, giants. I'm sorry, where they were. If there's a circle structure, you can follow the solstice path and find these giants anywhere in the world. Thank you for your view, and I'm open for any kind of comments at all. I would particularly like to say that their giants were probably genetically altered so that they would seek gold for their masters. And the colors of the human race have nothing to do with anything but the ownership of these gods to human beings. But I want to get into it later. It seems that the Illuminati line missed. They want to bring it out 234 miles. If the giants were that far off, we would not have Stonehenge. But Stonehenge seems to be how you can find any giants anywhere in the world. But there are an older giant who had a high technology who got blasted away. See this? That's the asteroid explosion, like Tunguska explosion at 12,000 years ago. And we know that now because nanodiamonds all throughout, and the end of the Ice Age happened so quickly. But that's what took care of the giants. Radiation. Thank you for your view.